episode, don't you think, Mr. Michael?
Yes, sir. I am super excited to be back.
Yes. Welcome once again. And today we will talk about what is our topic for today, Mr. Michael?
Habits and discipline of a world class entrepreneur.
Wow, interesting. Habits and discipline. Wow. Interesting and amazing topic. So tell us, Mr. Michael, what is all about?
Well, Daniel, in order to be world class, in order to be at the best in the cutting edge of any industry, I believe habits and discipline are the keys in many ways that unlocks the door to success. So I'm very excited about talking about this topic today. Yes, sir.
Yes, and we need to congratulate us because this is our second
Yes,
episode.
sir.
Yes,
And I believe it's going to
and
be a
more
good one.
episodes to come. Yes, and more episodes to come, people. So stay tuned. Beyond the typical morning routine, Mr. Michael, what is the only or let's see absolutely non-negotiable for maintaining mental clarity and maintaining strategically focused even practice you can in the most chaotic days. Consider in your chaotic day. Because in the studio I have these. Well, I will repeat, Mr. Michael, because for sure I have a glitches coming around beyond the typical morning routine, Mr. Michael. What is the one daily or weekly practice you consider absolutely non-negotiable for maintaining your mental clarity and strategic focus, even in the most chaotic days?
One daily discipline that is so important is goal setting. I've heard it said, a goal that's unset usually goes unmet. So an entrepreneur has to have a vision, needs to have a goal. And in starting the day, right, it's so important to bring that goal up to the forefront of your thinking. Set out an agenda, write an itinerary, if you will, for reaching those goals. Some clear targets to map out and to work towards each day.
Clear target, people, clear target, not a gloomy target. World class entrepreneurs make countless decisions. What specific habit or framework have you built to ensure you're making decisions based on data, information, and intuition, not fatigue or emotion?
You know, Daniel, decision making, there's a lot that can go into it, but I like to keep it pretty simple. I think it's important to know the data, right? To collect as much information as you can about those targets that you want to reach, to really have a team put together that can help you if that person is not really a numbers person. There's a term that says in the business world, know your numbers, right? Know your customer base, know what it's going to take from a financial standpoint in order to meet the needs of your constituents, of your clients. So, great decisions need to have good information because we want to make good decisions based upon good information. So, data really matters. In many ways, the numbers don't lie. And you think about this podcast, right? You're getting some really good numbers, right? Number
Mhm.
one on Podmatch. Some of that has to do with, right, you knowing your audience, you understanding the formula, the blueprint for success, and ultimately allowing your decisions to line up with the data.
Aligning with the data. Okay. Interesting tips, Mr. Michael. Saying no is a critical discipline. How do you systematically decide what opportunities, meetings, or projects to decline, and how you train yourself to be comfortable with that?
Saying no in many ways, no is a complete sentence. So we need to be able to have decisiveness. I think one of the key success principles in life is decisiveness. There's a spiritual teaching that says, let your yes be a yes and your no be a no. And it may take a while to come to whether or not we need to say yes or no. But I think in many ways it should line up with our goals and with our purpose. If what we're saying yes to aligns with our goals and our purpose, our vision, our mandate, then that means we're in congruence, we're in alignment with the goals. If we need to say no, that should be because there's misalignment. You know, everything is not everything is for everybody. And there needs to be a certain amount of decisiveness when it comes to our decision making. Most importantly, does it line up with our goals, with our purpose? Is the timing now? Because not always is it a no, sometimes it's a delay. It's not that we're going to take every opportunity right now, but sometimes that may be an opportunity for down the road.
Yes. Don't miss those opportunity, people, because they just only come once. So grab it. Many high achievers talk about managing energy, not time. How do you structure your day and your habits around your biological or mental energy cycles, Mr. Michael?
Daniel, I'm getting a pretty good lag here. You might have to repeat that one for me.
Yes. So, how do you structure? So, many high achievers talk about managing energy, not time. How do you structure your day and your habits around your biological and mental energy cycles?
I think it starts thinking about the next day, the night before. That way, we can be clear and specific about where we want to commit a lot of our time, our energy, and our efforts. Time is something we cannot get back. We get a certain amount of energy, right, each day. That's why getting adequate rest is really important. Goal setting the day before. What is it that I want to be able to accomplish today? One habit that I think is really important that I've really adopted and I really want to start doing more is at the end of the day, asking myself, how did I do towards reaching my goals? Were there any goals that were not met? And that can help me for the next day decide where I need to commit my time, my energy, and my effort. Some people get distracted or discouraged if they don't check every box on their list. Some people get motivated and inspired to do better the next day. That deals with what we talked about last week, right? Mindset. Glass half full over glass half empty. To not allow ourselves to get discouraged or distracted with things that have not been done, but to be intentional, motivated, and inspired to do better the next day. Matter of fact, we don't even have to wait till the next day. Sometimes we need to check in throughout the day with our goal list. How am I doing? What do I need to change? What do I need to tweak? What do I need to alter? What do I need to do in regards to self care to have the energy to be able to accomplish the goals that we've set out? And that oftentimes goes back to the question you asked before, the willingness to say no to things that don't matter. Successful leaders say yes to the things that matter and no to the things that don't matter.
Yes, definitely. And Mr. Michael, in the torrent of our daily operations, how do you institutionalize the habit of learning? Is it scheduled reading, dedicated thinking time, or a specific method for deconstructing failures?
I think a lot of it has to do with method, right? To understand that success leaves clues, and in many ways, there's a blueprint. And in order to understand how to reach our goals, we need to think about our process. Great companies have great products, a great process, and great people. So let's talk about that process part. What are the nuances? What are the details? What are the strategies that can help us be at our optimal level? I love the spiritual teaching that says, we ought to study to show ourselves approved. Sometimes we really need to look at our day and think about our goals, our vision, and ask ourselves, how can I maximize my time? How can I uh, gain more tools and more strategies? Who do I need to connect with that might be able to help me be more efficient? That's why understanding, who's on our support team really matters, because not everybody's good at everything. So it's okay. Sometimes we need to bring in people who are good in areas that we're not good at. And now becomes a part of our method, building that team that can help us reach our goals. And that can be a part of the method.
Mr. Michael, Mr. Michael, sorry, daily system and operational habits. Can you walk us through your personal weekly review process? What do you measure, reflect on, and plan for that ensures you are steering the company and not just being swept along by it?
Great question. I think we're supposed to help set the stage for our day. So for me personally, when I think about what my next day is going to look like or what this week is going to look like, I need to start putting certain things in place that's going to help me be at an optimal level. That's dealing with family life. That's dealing with my own self care. That's dealing with the needs of my clients, the businesses I'm connected to, the constituents that I'm connected to not to try not to get caught off guard. Maintaining a calendar, staying connected to my calendar, right? If it's using alerts, if it's sending reminders or emails out to people the night before. Some of those are just built into my practice. You know, I'm a therapist and I have to look at my client list for the next day. And I try to be consistent about sending my email notices or putting things on the calendar that remind me of what it is that I need to do. So it's really about having a mindset of excellence and consistency and having the ability to follow through on the things that we say we're going to do. I call it TPE: think, plan, execute. Daniel, can we do something about the echo I'm getting?
Yes,
Okay,
go
you able
ahead.
to edit some of that out? What I'm saying right now? Okay.
Okay, I will, Mr.
You'll be able to?
Michael.
Okay, good.
Yes, I will. So, as you scale communication, can we become a bottleneck? What personal habits have you developed to make communication within your team exceptionally efficient and effective?
Yes. I use the acronym, Daniel, TPE: think, plan, execute, to give adequate thought to what it is, to what my goals are, what my day is going to look like, what my week is going to look like. The P part, the planning. What plans do I need to put in place in order to reach my goals? And then lastly, execute. We can think, have the right thoughts, we can make the right plans, but at the end of the day, success is connected to execution. And I hope that helps somebody. Think about your goals. Think about what you want your day to look like. Think about what you want this week to look like, what you want this month, what you want this year to look like, right? Set some clear targets. Really give it adequate thought. Don't rush to the next phase. Think about it. What is it I want to accomplish? Who do I need to help me get there? What's the timeline I need to to follow in order to get there? The planning. Who are the people? What are the processes? What are the principles that I need to adopt in order to be at my best? And then execution, doing those things, following up on those plans, reaching out to the people that are going to help us reach our goals. So, operationally, TPE: think, plan, execute.
Yes, people, TPE is highly recommended for everyone. Mr. Michael, what aspect of your personal workload have you successfully automated or delegated, and what was the mindset shift required to let that go?
Great question. A lot of what I do has a lot to do with me. So, there's a lot of times not a lot of times where I'll delegate to others, but one area that I can think of right now is in the counseling world, right? Getting credentialed. And, what I learned is that there are people, there are companies, there's technology, that I released some of the things that, I thought I might have to do, hand it over to others. One of the best ways to relinquish control is through the results that we seek. So when we relinquish control and we see that other people have stepped up and they're good at what they do, there's a lot more peace that's attached to it. I think about this venture that you and I are on, and I see how you operate. I see how well prepared you are. So I can come in with confidence, knowing that, right, this venture can be successful because in many ways, you've already shown success. I love the spiritual teaching that says the wise walk with the wise. So if we're going to delegate, connect with people that have shown themselves to be trustworthy. Now, none of us are perfect. We all have some blind spots, may have some issues, some things that are on our personal growth plan. So it's not about perfection, but it is in many ways about excellence, striving for it at least.
And striving for sure. And Mr. Michael, ego is the enemy of growth. What is your structured process for seeking out critical, uncomfortable feedback, and how do you discipline yourself to listen without becoming defensive?
Great question. You said the word construct. Ultimately, if someone's giving us information that's going to help us be better, we need to take that and allow it to help us to grow. We shouldn't be defensive, right? If the information we're getting is ultimately helpful. Ego comes in and says, "I have all the answers." Well, in many ways, that's counter to that's antithetical, right, to success and growth. Once we feel like we know everything, then that's about all we're going to know. But if we say, "I'm a student, I'm here to learn," then when someone gives us information, even if they don't deliver it the best, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Take the information, allow it to help us to grow, develop, because ultimately that information is not just about us, it's about helping others. Great entrepreneurs, great businesses, great companies ultimately serve the needs of other people. If we make it about us, that's when ego comes in. And one acronym that I think about when it comes to ego, I look at that kind of from a spiritual reference. Ego, edging God out. When we remove that spiritual part of us that does not want us to grow, we're edging that spiritual realm out. And ultimately, right, some success is not just about our personal endeavors. Some people would say you need luck or serendipity or circumstance. I believe much of it is divine. That at the end of the day, right, we can make plans, but when God breathes on it, it goes to a whole nother level. So don't edge God out, bring God in. And for some people, that's not necessarily a religious statement. Maybe it's more of a human from a humanistic standpoint. Or for some, it may be more of, you know, understanding that well, spirituality and faith, some people line that more religion, others don't. But anything that's ventured, right, it's going to take a leap of faith to step out on faith and say, let's give this a shot. And being open to that should leave us open to constructive feedback. And if we find ourselves getting defensive, that's okay. Sometimes we take a time out and ask ourselves some important questions. Should I be defensive? Is there anything I can take from what the person is telling me that actually can be helpful? Daniel, we all may have that family member, right? Where your uncle or auntie or mom or dad may tell you something and we don't like what the way they said it. But sometimes when you sit back, it's like, you know what? No, it wasn't pretty what they said, how they said it, but I actually needed to hear that. Sometimes the things we need to hear, we might not want to hear. But if we're willing to learn and grow, take that information and see how it can be of use to us. You're muted, Daniel.
Sorry.
That's
Yes,
okay.
sorry. And to wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Michael, in a world class discipline is not about grinding 120 hours a week. How would you redefine for the next generation of entrepreneurs? What is the new model of sustainable high impact habits?
Work smarter, not just harder. Some people say work smart, not hard. No, I think there's place for both. We can work hard after we've used some intellect and some strategy, right? And there's times where, let's face it, success, it's going to take a lot of hard work, commitment, dedication, sacrifice. That can be a grind, but we want it to be a smart grind. The spiritual teaching that says, "Who builds a house without considering the cost?" And maybe some of you, somebody listening out here can relate to that, right? Particularly a lot of times, us guys, when it's time to build something, we may think we know the blueprint already in our head and say, who needs that manual? Who needs to go on to YouTube and find out how to do it? And then a lot of times we may build it only to have to take it apart and build again with some real instruction. In building that business, study the blueprint, study those who've gone before you. Success leaves clues. Maybe there's a mentor, somebody you need to speak to who's already doing what you want to do. Not necessarily exactly the way you're doing it, because what you have to offer is unique. It's got your name on it. But the principles, many of them stay the same. The principles do stay the same. Let's put it that way. So study the film, study the blueprint, do your homework, do your research, put your plans in place. But when it's time to execute, it's time to execute. Daniel, you're muted.
Yes, and thank you again, Mr. Michael. Thank you for reminding us that world class entrepreneurs are often methodologized as a visionary risk takers, but the true engine of their success is found not as a leaps of faith, but in the quiet, unwavering architecture of their daily discipline. Discipline, people. And Mr. Michael, thank you so much again for another great episode on Entrepreneur 101. Please tune in next week because we have something more and more interesting topic. All right, Mr. Michael. So would you like to plug in something?
Thank you, Daniel. Another great episode. Plugging, people tuning in next week. Look forward to another great conversation.
Yes, please. And more to come, people. See you soon.